All right, guys, here we go. September 1st. It's crazy to think that we're already at September, but here it is, and I feel like I'm up against it. But today's going to kick off our weekly updates. If you followed along with us in the past, we've done daily vlogs in the past. We're going to tweak the formatting just a little bit this year. If you're going to follow along with my journey, a lot of it's going to be heavy on the land management. It feels like every day that goes by, I'm doing something, whether it's on my farm, somebody else's farm, or I'm working, at what I do personally on my private position too as well. Everything surrounds around land management, diversity, and natural resources when it comes down to it. But as summer comes to an end here, I wanted to give an update on Area 52. Today was actually the first time I've been down there in a couple of weeks. And it felt good to have boots on the ground down there, move around some cameras, check on that pond project. We finally got that overflow installed on the pond, and it's really doing its job. Although right as soon as we got that installed, it seemed like the rain quit. So maybe I played a part in inevitably making that happen, but it's doing its job. The pond's looking great. We put another dosage of that dye in there today. It really keeps that blue coloring, which is a dual purpose. It looks really nice from aesthetic purpose, but also we're keeping down on some of the vegetation when it comes down to keeping down the vegetation in the pond itself. So it does have a purpose when we're putting it in there. And then when we're down on the property today, we just kind of moved around some cameras. I know that this time of the year, everyone's wanting to know, like, how's the hit list coming together, what that's looking like. I really haven't had a ton of cameras that have been up and running here recently, and that's because I took a vacation out to the western side of the country, and I've been out of the area for a little while, so that was kind of part of playing catch up today, was getting the cameras up and running. But there are a few bucks that are making it to the top of the hit list, and there's a buck I called Werthers last year. If you remember, I had a really close encounter with him right outside the mobile command center, right at the base of it. He made a really big jump this year. He wasn't necessarily a deer that I was anticipating making a big jump, but I've gotten a few photos of him, and he actually only has one eye. So that's a really unique part of the story, is that I'm a sucker for those old bruiser bucks, and that's going to be one that I think he's going to be right towards the top. Haven't had Pretzel on camera yet. I'm not sure if that deer's alive. I'm going to cross my fingers. I put a lot of work and effort into enhancing some of those spots where historically I've seen him in the past, and that's a buck that hopefully is going to show up here in the near future, where if he does, I'm confident that he's going to make a big jump. So as I said, we just finished up at Area 52, and now we're at a new location. And this is one that I'm excited to talk about, and I'm probably gonna have a hard time not smiling the entire time I talk about it, because this is a new property. This is a new farm. This is only, I think, my second time being down here as the actual owner of this property. Back in July, my wife and I were fortunate enough that we bought another farm. It's a 25-acre small piece, and it's one that I'm really excited about. And it was an opportunity at auction. We closed on the 21st, and then that night, we actually came down here with the tractor. Rye and Dave and I came down here on the property with intentions of getting plots in that day, because knowing that I was going to be leaving for vacation just a few days later. But unfortunately and fortunately, there's a beautiful stand of native grasses on this property, about 13 acres of CP25 mix that's enrolled in a CRP program, which is gorgeous. But the one thing it's limited on is food during specific times of the year. So my goal is to implement food in strategic locations that I can also archery hunt over top of these food sources. So one of the things we're working on while we're here today is I have the sprayer with me in the back of the side-by-side. We're gonna go ahead and go through down and do a burn off on this location on two different plots that are really sitting adjacent to one another. They're just divided north and south by a creek that is pretty heavy with a willow thicket in between them. So we're gonna go through here today and spray, and then we actually have another plot that's back into the timber. So the additional acres of this property, it's actually in a CRP program as well, but it's a tree planting program. And I really love that component. Tree plantings have such a unique opportunity on how you access them, how you can utilize them as a landowner, and then also how you're gonna hunt them, because they can do really unique things to the wind when you're in there. A lot of times they can swirl in and out, so it definitely promotes or presents different challenges associated with it. So if we can, we're gonna try to burn off a small plot, and we're just gonna try to convert some open acres into a clover plot eventually, but I didn't bring a lighter with me. Unfortunately, Evan doesn't have one sitting in his car with him today, so we're gonna do our best to try to figure out a way where maybe we can get a fire started. Looking forward to having you guys along for the journey for the 2024 season, and inevitably there's gonna be some fun along the way. I have no doubt that the entire staff is gonna have a lot of fun this year. Well, you see, I have now torn apart an old antenna for a cuddy back, and I'm trying to connect the two positive and negative sides of the battery, which is getting hot, but we're just not getting a lot of heat out here. I'm just burning through my gloves right now is what I'm doing, and it's hot. This is what happens when you forget a lighter at home when you're trying to do controlled fire. All right, guys, we're back down here on the Last Chance farm. It's September 2nd. We were down here yesterday, had that debacle that we were trying to work through the process of getting a fire started without a lighter. Although that was not successful, I do have a lighter with me today. So I feel like we're in good shape for that today. The goal for today is to get this plot burnt off, is what we're gonna do. So we're gonna use fire. I came through here about 3 weeks ago at this point in time and sprayed all of this off with glyphosate, and I actually added a little bit of clethodim because there was a lot of canary grass in here. So the goal is to rid this of all the thatch. Long-term goal is for this to be a clover plot, but what we're gonna do is do a full rate of clover while we're down here today, and we're also gonna mix in some cereal grains so we can get that greenery, because that clover's not gonna establish itself. You know, we're in September at this point in time. We're not gonna have a lush clover field before season kicks off. So we're gonna try to help it out just a little bit by adding in some cereal grains and get this burn off, and maybe if we have some time, do some little sneaking around down here and continue to look for some different pinch points and locations for some stands coming into season. All right, so we're just a few moments away from getting started on actually lighting the actual fire. But I wanted to walk through kind of what my plan is when I'm doing this type of prescribed fire for controlled fire, because I want it to be under control. You know, that's the goal for all of this, right? First and foremost, when I pulled up to the farm, I actually called the safety center down here in our county and let them know I'm going to be doing a controlled fire, what my location is. And that way, especially being a newcomer to this area, the last thing I want is to introduce myself to the neighbors by lighting something on fire and it getting out of control. So that was first and foremost. And then I also checked the weather conditions for today. We have a light northeast wind is what it is for today, but it's really going to swirl down here on the bottom. So I wasn't too impactful on that for my burn plan today. Humidity is relatively low at this point in time. With this being predominantly canary grass, I know it's gonna burn hot and it's gonna burn quick. So it's gonna light up quick and then it's gonna be done and over with. So that's something I'm taking into consideration. And then also what I'm doing is I wanna make sure that this leaf blower, which is gonna be my primary means of controlling this, I wanna make sure I start it up, it runs properly, it's full on fuel, so that way if something does spark up really quickly, I'm ready for when that happens. And then the last thing I'm gonna do before I actually set the fire is that I do have my drip torch with me today, and I'm gonna utilize my drip torch. This is one of my favorite tools for land management. Once this is burned off, the thatch is gone, we're gonna come through and rid a few brambles and bushes that are in here, and then we're gonna actually get the seed on the ground and hopefully get out of here relatively quickly today. So we're starting on the upwind side is what we're doing. So this is what's called back burning. So although we don't have like a really good back burn right here, it's gonna move quicker going into the wind is what we're doing. So we're gonna try to get it back burnt. In theory, if I lit on the north side, it'll move faster with the wind at its back. It's always a fun reveal to take off your sunglasses after you do a burn like this, because especially that canary grass, there's just so much soot that it puts off. But I'm doing the final walkthrough. Sort of call this the mop up. Make sure that we're walking if there's any logs that are burning right around the edge. The one thing with this spot is that it was fairly under control, just because with where we are at in the summer, there's so much greenery. So as soon as it got to that edge of where I had sprayed off, it was kind of naturally putting itself out anyway. On occasion, I would bring up the leaf blower and just do a little spot blowing, but really I didn't even really need the leaf blower. I was just being a little bit overly cautious probably. So we're gonna do a full rate of Monster Buck's Cold Climate, the perennial version of the clover, which has the chicory in it. And we're going to do a full rate right now, and the idea is that I'll come back and frost seed this plot also and add that additional little clover on top of this then. So this is the last piece of the puzzle here. We're going to top it off with some cereal grains, do some oats on here as well. Can't see any of those seeds. So there's an oat right there. And this is all the way down to the ground too. There's a brassica right there. Just so deceptive. Here's another brassica right here. This was a good project to get done today. Overall, I'm really happy with how it turned out. There's definitely some stems and stuff where aesthetically it might not be the most beautiful plot in the entire world, but this is a true poor man plot. That's what it is. This goes back to the roots of Midwest whitetail right here and establishing these first-time plots in secluded areas where you can't get big equipment in here right now, where eventually I would love to have the goal of being able to cross the creek that's north of here and get the mower in here, you know, once a year and have a lush clover plot. But the goal right now is just to establish a food source in a location that's secluded back here in this farm, where this farm has plenty of cover and diverse cover. So we have the tree component of it, you know, we have the native grasses component of it, but it's lacking a food component, and definitely food for different times of the season. So this is a good thing to get knocked off today. It feels good to just spend time down here. It's you know, just fun to just kind of look around different trees for different tree stand locations, and honestly just looking at different projects for land management that I want to get done, because looking back in the trees, you can tell right now it definitely needs to be thinned. We need to go through here. There's so many oaks that are so tightly on top of each other that it's to a point where it needs to go in there. You need to select the most desirable of them and thin it out to give them opportunity to compete for light and resources when it comes down to it. So one thing's for sure, October 1st, I'm going to find my way to be in a stand somewhere. These roasted soybeans are what I like. Angle might have been off just a little bit. Welcome back down to Area 52. It is September 8th today, and Dave and I are down here on the farm, and a lot of little stuff that we're knocking off today, a lot of small projects that we're working on getting done, trimming up some shooting lanes. We're going to move the mobile command center, hopefully hang a stand over by that pond set, and then just do an update on the pond too. In the coming weeks, I feel like that we still have a lot to get done. I feel like every single permanent set that I have needs a little bit of work, so we're going to continue to work on some of these projects, and today's just a lot of little stuff. You know, we're putting out some acts, that last chance to do one more inventory during September, and that's something that I've historically done a lot of. We're going to put those out, make sure the cutty backs are in their fall locations, making the transitions over scrapes. If nothing else, it's fun to come down here and, you know, have show and tell a little bit, show Dave around. This is his first time down here. I take a lot of pride in, you know, what Area 52 is, and I really enjoy showing it off when I get the opportunity to do so, to have Dave down here and having the chance to have show and tell a little bit. I really enjoy that side of it. So we're going to continue knocking off these projects. I'm going to have the harness on here pretty quickly, first time up in the tree in a little while, and hopefully get a stand hung over on that pond set, because I have the tree already picked out. I've hunted that stand numerous times, but this is a new location. You know, I've changed a lot of the variables over there, so I'm looking forward to how the deer are going to utilize it, because the one thing I'm absolutely sure of that I can call a success at this point in time, the wildlife are benefiting from that water hole, from that pond section over there. Every time I'm down there, I feel like I see a different type of wildlife utilizing that area. I remember when we were walking in today that I mentioned to Dave that there's like a spooky amount of frogs over there on the pond. It's like to a point where it's going to be a great food source when we get some fish in here, you know, at some point in time, but it's like a spooky level of frogs that's over at that location. And then last time I was down here, when I was doing some mowing on that clover, I saw some quail, and that's something that's really cool. And if you know anything about what quail numbers are here in the Midwest, you know, that's something that I'm going to take a lot of pride in, where if we can try to maybe change some of our management purposes moving forward to focus on quail a little bit, hey, I'm all for that as well. Well, we're just walking through this rope scrape plot, and the chicory just looks dynamite. I couldn't be happier with how this plot has been doing. The clover looks really good. But one of the things I was just mentioning to Dave, as you look through here, you can just see how much sunlight is just hitting the ground right now, and that is just evidence of that, you know, timber harvest that we did, also with the TSI I've done on this property, where you're just getting that influx of early successional vegetation that's coming in there, which that's just something that's incredible for browse and for bedding. I mean, just seeing that sunlight hit the ground, sometimes when it comes down to timber management, 5 years can be a blink of an eye, but it's really cool to start seeing the fruit of those labors coming through. So I just wanted to hit on really quick. So you'll see right through here, this is a stretch. So essentially this was our fire break this last year for our timber burn. And unfortunately some of these younger oaks, we did have some top kill. But one of the things that is, you know, thing I'm noticing right in here is that we have a lot of germination of a lot of young oaks that are coming in right here too. So there's some white oaks, there's a red oak right there. There's another shingle oak down in here, where something that there's not a shortage of down here at Area 52 is we're blessed to have so much germination of young oaks. So unfortunately you did get some top kill. That's just going to be a side effect, sometimes positive and negative of fire. But in the grand scheme of things, you can see it's allowing these smaller ones to get that access to light and water. So definitely going to have some oaks down here in the future. I have to hold on to this. Still doing it. Make yourself useful, Dave.
Alright. Just a camera guy.
Yeah. Well, I'm just finishing up getting the stand hung in this tree, and I don't know how many hanging hunts I've done in this specific tree before, but I mean it's probably 5 or 6 in the past that I've done, and it never ceases to amaze me. This is a tough tree to hang in just because it's got so many branches coming off in different directions that it makes it really hard to get your lineman rope around it, and then also to get your quick sticks around it. So this is probably a good one just to leave as a permanent stand and just have it always be here. But it's such a cool spot. I mean, especially now at the pond, it's just a cool scenic spot for early season. And I think once we get the pole saw up here to do a little trimming, this is going to be a cool one. This is going to be one that you're going to want to be sitting early season with the clover and then the water source in front of you. I mean, this is setting up to be a good one. I'm just finishing up trimming up these branches, and really I only took 3 or 4 of them, but it made a huge difference. The one right in front of me, that was the biggest one that needed taken care of. And I know that historically when I've hanging hunted this, I haven't trimmed any branches other than with stuff with the handsaw when I'm out here. And that's one of the challenges I love about hanging hunts, is that oftentimes you're not trimming all that stuff up. And I try to be pretty selective when I'm pruning trees. I don't want to be like jeopardizing the tree just so I could get better visibility out of it. But I only took a couple branches off, and this white oak's nice and brushy too. Got a lot of leaves on it, and I'm think that we're nestled in here really nice. I know that one of the things that's always a sure thing in this tree is that once you get 2 people up in here, especially with a camera arm, it gets pretty tight pretty quick. But hopefully having those latitude saddles, on our side this year, that might make it a little easier to get off that backside, so we're not having to get 2 stands in this tree rather than just a platform and just having the one stand. So I'm looking forward to that. But awesome visibility. Yeah, I can almost bet early season you're going to see me sitting here, and if not chasing after mature buck, definitely doing some doe management in this spot. Well, it's right about 5 o'clock right now, and we are just finishing up. This was the last project I wanted to get done today. This has me itching to get out and get in the stand or get in a blind or something, because getting this mobile command center moved to its location where it'll be for the first part of the season was definitely something I wanted to knock off the list today. And this is a sweet spot. I mean, there's just so much green right now. It's so cool to be able to sit and look at the alfalfa and look at the beans, where early season, this is definitely a spot where I think you could get a lot of deer within bow range within this blind. I think that one of the things that could be a little bit difficult is that one of the things we had last year was that there was corn right where the beans are right now, and so we had that visual barrier where we could back it up to those areas, and we could really use that as our backdrop and tuck this blind in there pretty nicely. But we don't have that this year, so I'm giving up just a little bit in a spot right here where I think predominantly most of the deer are going to be west of us. I've always referred to this area as the hourglass. So essentially we have 13 to 14 acres of beans to our south. We have the alfalfa, 6 acres alfalfa, and then another section of beans to our north, where this is just a nice little hub of activity right in here. And the cuttyback right out in front of us has been pretty active, and historically is one of the better cameras on the farm itself. So I think that this is where it's going to be early season. As far as the rest of the week goes, I know that the big thing I really want to get done this week is we're going to make a push that we're going to go over, and Great Plains has come out with a new stealth series of their drills, and a little lighter, really great, and kind of geared towards that outdoor enthusiast. And our goal is to go get that this week, and we're going to get some plots put in at the Last Chance farm. And it could be our last chance to get some food on that farm. So it's kind of funny how that's all playing itself out, but we definitely need to get down there and make that a priority. Not a ton of food on that property, it's less than 1.5 acres, but I want to be able to have those cereal grains going into season, knowing at this point in time we're not going to get a bunch of bulbs and stuff out of our brassicas and turnips, but we can definitely gear ourselves towards having that greenery, which during certain times of the season could be one of the best food sources you can offer. So fun day down here at Area 52, fun to get Dave down here. Looking forward to see what the rest of the week happens, but we're just going to enjoy the view here for a second and then start heading home.